So, what if I told you the future of medical research isn't just happening in sterile labs? What if it's hiding in plain sight on a place like Reddit? Well, today we're going to dive into this really wild new AI that does exactly that. It's basically running virtual clinical trials using, our everyday conversations online.
Okay, so you've seen stuff like this all over the internet, right? You do a quick search for something like intermittent fasting, and boom, you're promised a whole world of benefits. Better heart health, you'll burn fat, maybe it'll even reduce inflammation. But here's the thing, how do we really know if any of that is for sure, right? How do you separate a real, actual medical benefit from what's just, a popular trend or maybe even just wishful thinking?
Well, to get those real, solid answers, scientists have a very specific, very powerful tool they rely on. But, and this is a big but, as we're about to see, this so-called gold standard for evidence, it has a pretty big problem.
And that tool is called the randomized controlled trial, or RCT for short. Now, this is the super rigorous process they use to prove that a treatment, could be a new drug, could be a diet, actually causes a specific outcome. I mean, it is the absolute bedrock of modern medicine.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. On one side, you've got the super clean, tightly controlled world of an RCT, right? Everything is governed by pure chance. And on the other side, you have the messy, complicated, real world where millions of us are just trying things out and talking about it online. And this slide just lays it all out perfectly. Look, RCTs are the gold standard for a reason, no doubt. But they are crazy expensive. They can take years to finish. And a lot of the time, the people in the trial don't really look like the rest of us in the real world. Now, that data from online forums, it's basically free. It's there right now, instantly. And it comes from a hugely diverse group of people. So here's the key takeaway. We are sitting on an absolute goldmine of real-world data, but it's just a total mess. It's completely unstructured.
So, this brings us to what the researchers who built this new AI call evidence in the wild. I mean, just think about the sheer scale of this for a second. Every single day, on places like Reddit, you have thousands, maybe millions of people documenting their own personal health journeys. They're talking about the meds they're on, the diets they're trying, the side effects they're feeling, the results they're getting, all of it. So the fancy scientific term for all this chatter is unstructured observational data. And all that really means is that it's not in some neat little spreadsheet a scientist can just plug in and analyze. It's just conversations, millions and millions of individual stories.
And this leads us to the huge challenge that this team of researchers decided to take on. The big question is it even possible to pull reliable scientific evidence out of all this online noise? Or is it all just, a bunch of random, unverifiable stories?
Okay, so this is where our hero enters the picture. It's a new kind of AI research assistant, and it was built for one specific purpose: to find that valuable signal hidden inside all of that noise. So let me introduce you to Natural. It's an acronym. It stands for Natural Language Analysis to Understand Real Effects. And to put it simply, it's a system that uses large language models, yeah, the same kind of tech that powers things like ChatGPT, to read millions of these online posts and then estimate the real-world effects of different treatments. So how does this thing actually work? Well, it's a pretty elegant three-step process. Step 1. The AI basically sifts through millions and millions of posts online to find only the ones that are relevant to a specific treatment question. Then, step 2, it reads every single one of those posts and pulls out the key info. Stuff like what treatment they used, what the outcome was, and other details like age or sex. This is the magic part, where it turns all that messy text into structured data. And finally, step 3, it uses all that new data to calculate something called the average treatment effect. That's just a fancy statistical way of measuring how well a treatment actually works out in the real world. Okay, so the idea is brilliant, right? But the billion-dollar question is, does it actually work? Well, let's take a look at the results from Natural's very first virtual trials. And here we go. This is the moment of truth. The researchers put Natural up against the ultimate test. The question was simple. Could an AI, just by reading anonymous Reddit posts, actually match the results of official multi-million-dollar gold standard clinical trials? And honestly, the results are kind of mind-blowing. Let's look at this. For a comparison between two major weight loss drugs, a real RCT found a 10.1% difference in effectiveness. Natural's estimate, just from reading Reddit, 9.1%. I mean, wow.
Okay, another one, a trial for migraine treatments found that 28.3% of patients stopped because of side effects. Natural's guess, 25.6. That is just incredibly close. And get this, it wasn't just a fluke. Across 4 different real-world trials they tested, Natural's predictions were consistently within just 3 percentage points of the official results. Just let that sink in for a second. On one hand, you have years of research and millions of dollars. On the other, you have an AI reading public forums for maybe a few $100 in computing costs. So what does this all mean for the future? I mean, are we about to replace all our scientists with Reddit-reading robots? Well, probably not. But let's talk about what this could mean for the future of scientific discovery. Okay, first things first, and this is super important. The researchers are crystal clear about this. This tech is not going to replace clinical trials. RCTs are still absolutely essential. They are the final, critical step to prove a treatment is safe and effective before it gets to the public. So what it can do is act as a powerful tool to help scientists prioritize. Think of it like this. Instead of spending millions to test 100 different ideas, scientists can use this AI to scan the real world, see what's already showing promise, and then aim their super expensive RCTs where they're most likely to hit the jackpot. This could dramatically speed up the whole process of medical research. Now, look, this whole thing isn't magic, and the paper is very honest about its limitations. For one, there's selection bias. You know, the people posting on Reddit might not perfectly represent everybody. Then there's network interference. People on forums can influence each other's opinions and reports. And of course, it all comes down to self-reported info, which isn't always super precise. So yeah, these are real challenges that they still need to figure out. But even with those challenges, this research leaves us with a really powerful idea. We've just seen that valuable, maybe even life-saving information is hiding out there in plain sight, scattered across the billions of conversations we're all having online every day. So the question isn't really if we can find it anymore. It seems like we can. Now that we have the tools, the only real question left is what should we ask next?